Welcome everyone back to this channel where today we're talking politics and things we're going to cover today. Everybody is out here protesting that America does not believe in kings. If you're out there, let us know what you're doing. I just went to one and we'll talk about that. We've also got the three stooges of female politics: Nancy, Make Me a Man Mace, Marjorie Trailer Park Trash Green, and Lauren, Bathroom Police Bobert, just shucking and jiving at a hearing. It's like, why are we wasting each other's time? And joining me to break down these issues today is the big homie from TikTok, TJ. You guys love him. He's a veteran. Send that man some cash apps and stop saying thank you for your service. Really thank him. It all starts right now.
I'm up early for the dealers come out. Everybody is outside till the killers come out. You ain't eating, you just act full. I'm impactful. Dozen funerals in a month. I got that pull. I will give it to niggas in all rap forms. Ignatius out right now on all platforms.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, the big homie TJ. Brother TJ, how you doing?
Today's a rough day, man. We backstage, Lamont and I were chatting for a second, and he mentioned how are you doing or how you're feeling is kind of a trick question. That's always fascinated me. As a teenager, I noticed that a lot of times you give that salutation. It's just a polite thing to do, but they'll answer you with a question. You'll be like, "Hey, man, how you doing? Hey, what's up?" And you just pass each other. No one answers the question at all. It's just it's just ingrained. This is what you do, but you don't really think about it. Because if someone most of the time actually told you how you're feeling, you'd be like, "Hey, okay, I didn't really want an answer to that question. I was just being polite." It's kind of funny.
That's why. You just nailed it on the head, because as we're taught to say that, we're also taught that if somebody really tells you what the fuck is going on, they're crazy.
Yeah, it's odd. It's like, oh, hey, this is just a formality. I don't really want an answer to the question. So yeah, especially days like today, it's just a lot going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to go support this man. His link is in the video description. And as always, you want to support us, you can always just come and leave us a voicemail. We would love to hear what you all have to say. That link right there that says leave us a message, bit.ly / talk to us, capital T, capital T. You can leave us a message. We'll get back to you. TJ, you know the first segment of this show is, what are you politicking while living under MAGA as a black man? Politics of being black. What has got you stumped today?
Well, I don't know if I'm stumped. This is more like a vindication on my part. I think that last week we were talking about the Trump versus Elon battle. And yep. I planted my flag on this quickly, that Elon would be the first to fold. I did that on John's show. I said it here. And I want to show everyone that, what was it, yesterday, the day before, Elon shared this. You can pull it up, Lamont. Elon went out and published this tweet saying, "I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far." And I found that really, not surprising. I thought Elon would be the first to fold. The language was interesting, though, that he said some of the tweets. Because which ones? I'm curious, because the big one would be the fact that, okay, were you lying when you said Trump was a pedophile? Or is Trump actually a pedophile and you are, okay with that? Well, which one is it? Were you tricked? Did someone deceive you into thinking Trump was a pedophile, and a week later you found out the information was bad? What was it that convinced you? I'd love to know. And the fact that he can just do this and that everyone just moves on with their day is just kind of funny to me.
Yes, TJ said to me, "Lamont, I think Trump is going to win this one now." And I said, "TJ, I don't think so." And TJ, I'm still here to tell you I don't think so, because Musk is a ketamine addict. The word on the street is, this is the word on the street. It ain't substantiated, but this is the word on the street.
Mm-hmm.
That Trump wears a Depends because he shits his pants. And
Okay.
Elon Musk wears a Depends because he pee his pants, because that's a side effect of doing ketamine.
Okay.
If you've ever had to live with someone who's an addict of drugs,
mm-hmm.
they go through these mental cycles, and I've had to deal with someone who is like that, where they're very, very calm when they're getting treatment or whatever, but the minute they go back, they're right back to doing inflammatory stuff. And I can cool tell you, Elon Musk will be back on that ketamine, and he will be back to attacking Trump.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that there will be future spats between Trump and Elon. I just don't put my money on Elon to win. I just I think that, especially considering the fact that Trump actually pulled a pretty good, big dick move on Elon, saying, "Hey, maybe I'll just defund all your government contracts. How about that? How about I just
Hmm.
take the money away that keeps you going, like with SpaceX or with Tesla or with Starlink, just free government money being handed over." I don't know. We'll see. It is fun to watch this, but I mean, that got to find it somewhere, right?
Yeah, somewhere, brother. Wherever you can get it, you got to find it somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, your politicking while living under MAGA was a little bit more tame than mine. Might incite some anger in people because you see this all the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, I'm going to use a clip to illustrate my politicking while being black living under MAGA
All
because
right.
you oftentimes see these individuals who think they're so fucking tough when they're either around a group or they're protected by either a badge or they feel protected by a gun. But if you were to put their fat asses in the middle of the street in the corner and had to go fisticuffs, they wouldn't be tough. We've got that coming from a sheriff in Florida talking about what's going to happen to people who protest today. Take a look at this buffoon.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
TJ, I have so many problems with that. I don't have a problem with some of the lawful things he said he would do. I have a problem with him talking about basically saying he's pinpointing he's going to kill someone, in essence. I have a problem with him basically telling you he's down for Trump with the big, beautiful dog shit. We know what that is. That's dog whistle to the extreme.
Yeah.
I have a problem with someone like him, fat ass, talking about he's gonna run somebody down. TJ, when is the last time it looked like his ass ran to anywhere except for the Krispy Kreme hot light? Pe-
Exactly. Yeah.
People like him get on my nerves because where was this energy for January 6th? Where was this fucking energy? Okay, let's not even go back that far because we know how they like to do whataboutism. So I won't even play whataboutism. I'll play it like this. Where was this same energy when Trump let motherfuckers loose that did this same behavior on the Capitol? Where was that energy then? That's present day. That ain't no innuendo of whataboutism. That's present day. Where was your press conference of being so fucking tough when the president let people out of jail that did exactly what you just said? They did exactly what you just said. And not only did they do it, they did it to the capital of the United States. And Brevard County, folks should know it's a pretty affluent county in Florida. So I
Oh,
guess it's cool to talk this tough talk.
I didn't know that.
Yes, right. But in any event, the floor is yours. That's what my politicking while living under MAGA, the hypocrisy of MAGA. And to think that people can let folks get away with that.
Yeah, I actually hadn't seen the whole clip before. That was my first time. I think I
Mhm.
saw maybe articles referencing it or a couple seconds here and there. And my first thought was essentially something you mentioned, that okay, a lot of these are just laws, right? Like, what are you grandstanding for? I was like, if you don't pay your taxes, the IRS will look into it. Yeah, that's how this shit works, right? We
Mhm.
we know this, but the signaling toward Trump with the big beautiful dogs line and the psychotic glee in
Right.
hurting
Mhm.
people, which is
Right.
something that we should discourage in our representatives and our public servants, but it's kind of evaporated now. I saw someone talking about the fact that Donald Trump refers to the governor of California as new scum all the time, and Republicans don't. It doesn't faze them at all. They say, oh, yeah, that's how you do it. And I've never been a big, hey, we need civility and decorum type of guy. I think a lot of that stuff is a little overwrought, but I'd like some, right? I'd like something. I'd like some sort of dignity and gravitas from the people who like run our lives. That's not too much to ask. I didn't know that this was an affluent part of town, so it's this big talk for nothing. Like you have one of the safest areas around. You're not going to have any crime, and like you mentioned, I don't know what the physical standards are for this department, but he's not chasing anybody down. It's just I don't know. The guy. It is funny, like as a veteran, but these meal team 6, these gravy seals type of guys that, probably would say, I wasn't in the military, but I thought about joining. I thought about it. He's one of those guys is what it seems like. It's just, it also bad look considering what happened today in Minnesota. Kind of a bad look now that,
Thank you.
now like what with the political violence that's going to honestly, I've been thinking about it for the last few hours and stuff. I expect to see a lot more of this. Certainly not less. I don't see any reason to think that we're going to dial down the violence in this country with politics. And as a kid, not as a kid, but as a younger man, like college age or in the last few years especially, people would talk about how divided the nation was. This nation has never been more divided. A hilarious statement to say for a nation that had a literal civil war. But you don't even need to go back to the Civil War. I always reference the 60s. The 1960s was a pretty divisive time. You could point to, there were 4 major political assassinations in 9 years, 10 years?
Less than a decade.
Yeah. Nothing at all has come close to that. Like, what are you joking, saying that we've never been more divided? Just 60 years ago, we were a lot more. I think we're going to have another version of that. It's like with, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on this, but with Donald Trump's entire campaign, I always mention to folks that it was just spite-based politics. Everything about them was make liberals cry again, F your feelings, it was all just like petty spite. And what I mean by that is, for Trump supporters, they don't care what good he does for them. It could be zero. He could not improve their lives whatsoever as long as he does something bad against other people. They take that as some sort of psychological victory. And that's what I mean by spite-based politics. It's not about making anything better. It's about making things worse for a certain sect of people. And when you're dealing with that, you're going to see a lot more violence. I just don't know. Yeah.
We've talked about this, TJ. They would rather, instead of improving the quality of their life, they are comfortable if Trump and MAGA makes them feel good by hurting other people.
Yeah.
They're perfectly fine with that. They don't care if Trump sets our house on fire with their asses in it. As long as we're the ones screaming the loudest from getting burnt up, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, how do you change someone's mind? And there's only a handful of ways I can think about it. And we'll get into it in a minute. But I did do this particular politics of being Black while living under MAGA because I do have that story, TJ, of what happened with the congressperson in Minnesota. And it leads up to this. And a lot of the commentary I would give about this particular bum, I'm going to give when we get to that particular story as well. So the door is open, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know what you think. If you've got a comment that you think can change the world, leave us a voicemail. We're willing to hear it. TJ, what you got for me today? I'll tell you what I got, and then you can kind of let me know how it feels in. Oh, I got a new game for you. It's called Rapid Fire. It's called Rapid Fire 2 words. I've got some of the most polarizing pictures of the things that happened this week in politics. And I'm going to go through them. You give me 2 words to describe it. I'm going to give you 2 words, and then we'll move on to whatever subject you want to cover first.
Okay. All right. Well, I was going to mention the court case in New York with the election from 2024 for the Kamala Harris thing. I don't know if you heard that one.
I haven't heard that one, so you got me.
Oh, okay. Fresh. Yeah, it's just kind of fun. So I'll launch into it. There was
Go ahead.
So in the city of Rockland, New York, there were these discrepancies in the voter turnout. I think it was that a majority of people voted for a Democratic senator, Kirsten Gillibrand, I think, and there were no votes for Kamala Harris, though. There were more votes for Trump. And people were saying that this is a statistical impossibility, this shouldn't happen and everything. So I've seen, actually, I'll pull up the article that I saw. I saw it being shared on TikTok and everything a lot, and people mentioning this, and I made a whole video about this very thing. But I just pulled it up here. And it says Kamala Harris won the U.S. election. Bombshell report claims voting machines were tampered with before 2024. And yes, okay, all right. I'm glad to hear that reaction from you. I'm so glad to hear that, because I made an entire video saying that I am deeply disappointed in everyone who is sharing this and hell, even entertaining the idea that Harris actually won the election in 2024. I've seen so many videos of folks saying, we been knew this. Of course, that's the case. We knew that Trump stole the election. We knew that Elon Musk used Starlink to hack these voting machines. And it's like, we spent 4 years going over this with MAGA, right? We spent 4 years them saying that the election was stolen, it was fraudulent, based on nothing but gut feelings and vibes and intuitions. We have a court case to prove that the red state of Georgia conspired to steal the election from a Republican president. And it's the exact same thing now. That, yeah, the blue state of New York, that Harris won, conspired to try to steal the election from her, and that the voting machines were tampered with. And like, even at its most charitable, assuming that whatever these findings show that there was voter fraud, or purposeful or not, like, let's say it was purposeful, that's one thing. It's another thing entirely to say it was done on purpose by Trump or Elon Musk. And it's certainly a lot more to say, not only was it done in this random county in New York, but this was done in 50 states. And no, like, people, I say the same thing that I spent 4 years telling Republicans. Like, a multi-state conspiracy spanning hundreds of counties to either eradicate or fabricate millions of votes is not possible. It can't happen. It can't. And like, no amount of conspiratorial nonsense is going to make that possible. You need to let it go. Sometimes the bad guy just wins, right? Like, it happens. You know, Elon Musk didn't need to spend billions of dollars or millions of dollars to make the country racist. Okay, it's unnecessary. Also, someone pointed this out. I was so mad I didn't think about it. Well, why didn't he do that in the Wisconsin race, where he spent $25 million? Remember, where he dropped a ton of money in that Wisconsin Senate race?
And lost.
And lost. Exactly. Why didn't they just do, if it worked so well, why didn't they do it there? It's like, this all falls apart quickly. And I've just been so heartbroken seeing people acting like, and by the way, let's say it's true. Let's say, again, this wild fantasy that Musk and Trump somehow perfectly executed. Like, when's the last time Musk executed anything perfectly, right? When's the last time that happened? You know, one shot, one kill, like on election night. He got it right, got Trump elected. What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do? You think that highlighting the fraud happened is going to make Republican senators vote Trump out of office? No, it's a waste of time. Like, yeah, these discrepancies happen in elections. You find out the problem, you fix it, you see if there's an issue at all. You repair the damage and make sure it doesn't happen in future elections. But people are living in fantasy world. They're thinking that this is going to be a big deal to take Trump down. Like, no, it's nonsense.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I roll my eyes at this too. And a lot of what I would have said, TJ's already hit on. Number one, for this to be a vast conspiracy that deep, we've already seen that just the Trump administration itself can't keep his fucking mouth shut. The conspiracies would be running rampant. You would have so many people having each other's folks in their back pocket, knowing that this secret is going on, because it wouldn't just be a one state secret.
No.
You would have people across 50 states holding on to this damn secret. Somebody's going to spill the beans if they don't get their way. And we've already seen Elon Musk spilling beans, and I'm sure he's got more, but it wouldn't have anything to do with this. That's one thing, ladies and gentlemen. The other thing, like TJ said, we spent years telling Republicans the same thing. We spent 4 years actually having to debate down people that was in support of those fuckers that went to riot on the Capitol. Literally, it was all about that. Stop the steal. Stop the steal. There was nothing that they could do to stop it. And Georgia, who is normally is as red as my Captain America shield, actually went blue. You think they would have let that shit happen? No, they wouldn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna say it like this: I understand why you want to hold on to something.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. You know that Trump and the Republicans cheat. I get that. We know that. But to cheat in that capacity on that level, they're just not that smart. Nobody would be able to keep the secret. And folks, you got to let it go. Like if you want to do something, if you want to hold on to hope, support channels like me and TJ, support local politicians who are running against what MAGA believes in, and get your energy into what's going to come up next, which is the midterm. But to hold on to these things like this to try to give you hope, that's the wrong thing to hang your hat of hope on.
Yeah, yeah. There's I just man, it's so sad because I've spent a long time trying to understand how right wingers, like right wing thought is almost essentially conspiratorial. It's kind of, when you don't know how anything works, everything's a conspiracy. There's no differentiation between real life and magic to you. So you can just,
Right.
put anything you want in any order and, oh, well, that's the result because you don't understand it. And they just I thought better of people that they could, use logic to find this shit out, but it's sad to see.
If, like I said, if some people are just hope, they're trying to a glimmer of hope is what some are holding on to, and then you do have some who are young in politics. I can remember when I was 21, I believed in some stupid shit too. I believed that George Bush had a hurricane machine, a barometric machine that he would send to the fucking coast and drop the pressure and make hurricanes because someone said it in the media. And
Wow.
at that point in time, I wasn't versed enough to know how to go look stuff up. I was like 18, 19, something like that. So I kind
Hmm.
of believe that they. So you have some people who are at that stage, but then you do have those who are Democrats, TJ, that are like you said. If you allow your mind, and I'm not knocking anyone who believes in a higher power, do you, boo boo?
I
But
am.
if you are able to believe in a higher power and the magical properties that can go with a higher power, it makes you more susceptible to believe this type of conspiracy. Simple as that.
Yeah, and Lamont, this is my wheelhouse here. I
I
think the
know.
same thing. I think the same thing. It's that it's a weird area for me because I realize that the majority of people, let alone Americans, the majority of people, and certainly people that we need to work with, believe in some sort of God or religion. You can't just dismiss them. Like they have to.
Nope.
You're not going to win without them. So I don't want to, drive them away too much. However, if you want my honest opinion on it, I agree 100% that if you tell yourself that it's okay to believe something with zero evidence, I kind of worry about what you're going to believe. That you can say, and it's another thing too with the hope thing, because I hear this a lot, where people will say, I have to believe in God or a higher power or the afterlife because I don't want to think that when I die, it's all over, that I want to be able to see my family again. And say, okay, I got that. I get it. I understand. But there's a difference between wanting something to be true and believing something to be true.
Hmm.
And people, for some reason, conflate the two all the time. And I don't understand that. It's like, there's a difference, right? So you can't, a belief isn't a choice. A belief is conviction. Like something either convinces you or it doesn't.
Right.
So yeah, we got to work with these folks, but I do have to wonder if you can be swayed by no evidence at all. I kind of worry about what you can be swayed by in the future.
Well, we hope that you're being swayed right now by the hypocrisy, the lies, and the just cruelty of MAGA to come back to the Democratic wagon and at least try to fight to make our wagon better than what the party has presented to us. Um, Having said that, TJ and audience, please subscribe. Let us know what you think. TJ's link is in the video description. Again, we aren't afraid to take your voicemails and play it on the air. So hit us up at bit.ly/talk to us. The T in talk is capital. The T in two is capital. And subscribe to his TikTok, subscribe to the podcast and this channel. Let me go rapid fire with you, TJ, before we get to any of my stuff. I only got two. I got two. I think I got more than two. Well, I got two subjects for you, but one is kind of like a pun
Okay.
that we just got to finish discussing. But let me go rapid fire you on some of the best pictures and some of the worst pictures that the AP showed this week, and I'll go back and forth with you. So just break down two words to describe these pictures I'm going to show, and audience do the same thing.
Okay.
We got this one. When you
Ooh.
see this, and what do you think it is? First of all, because you know world history like nobody else.
Is this Gaza?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. My guess would be Gaza and war zone and genocide are the words that come to my mind.
Good one. For me, the words that come to my mind is tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Just tragic. And I'm not going to get into my tirade of how you can't tell somebody they're wrong if they're asking for peace across the board. When we have some people that tell me I'm wrong because I want there to be a peace for everybody. But I'll leave it at that because it ain't about that. It's rapid fire. Here we go. What comes to your mind when you see this, TJ? This happened
Oh.
this week too.
Oh wow. Is that from the Indian flight that went down? Yeah, I think
You got
tragedy, suffering, and India. The first words that come to my mind.
in my mind the first word that came was, "Are there any survivors?" And TJ, one guy has been found.
Listen, okay.
Did,
Oh, go ahead.
did
Go
you?
ahead.
No, go. Did you hear that? One guy has been found that's surviving right now.
Okay, so when the plane went down, yesterday, the day before or something, it was an
It
Indian air flight.
Friday. It was
Yeah, I
Friday
can't
morning.
remember.
Friday
Yeah, I
morning.
can't remember when it went down, but the first thing I saw was a video that was taken, purportedly, it was taken by someone on the flight. During the flight, he's recording inside the plane, and all the electronics in the plane is shut off. And they said that this plane crashed later. I was like, oh no. So I looked it up, and I saw what you had said, that someone had survived. I think he was in seat 11A or 11C or
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
And it said he
Yep.
jumped out of the plane, and that's how he survived. I was like, oh, I wonder how that happened. He was the only survivor. And so I wonder how that happened. And then I saw what was purported to be the video of the plane crashing, where it just shows it going down over this town and exploding like in a movie scene fireball. And I say, hold on here. I don't know when I have we confirmed he actually jumped out of the plane and lived? Because I don't know how that could have happened. I don't see. I don't know. Right, there didn't seem to be enough time.
Bro, no, I don't know if that's been confirmed. I've only seen it done. I've only seen people jump out of airplanes and helicopters and survive in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Avengers #1, when Nick Fury jumped out that helicopter right when Loki shot his ass. Look, it makes you think about a lot of things. First of all, why was he the only one to jump out? It just raises a lot of questions. And
how? Honestly, how?
right.
I don't. How did?
Like he had to have gone to the emergency door, pop that bitch open at the TJ. His timing,
Yes.
to get to. First of all, the plane is going. Do you, TJ? You've been in the military. Have you done any flight training or anything like that?
Yeah, it's like the pressure alone would have been
Thank
so
you.
difficult to open the door. I was
Thank
like,
you.
none of
Thank
it
you.
adds up to me. Yeah, none
Thank
of
you. Thank you. Thank
it.
you.
It's like,
So I've taken aviation. I actually thought about flying private airplanes. So I've
oh,
done some classes and stuff like that.
hmm.
And I'm telling you, on a jet, this was not a 737. This was a Dreamliner, bigger than that. So all the centrifugal forces, all the forces that make the plane go up and down are going to be bigger and heavier. And somehow or another, this one dude made it to a door. And you see where the plane landed? The plane landed on top of buildings, and he got out and survived. That man's got to be interviewed, TJ. The
This
minute
is
he can talk, he's got to
he's
be interviewed.
he's like, did you ever see Unbreakable? Did you ever
Yeah,
see
yeah,
the
yeah,
Bruce?
yeah, yeah.
He's Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. It's like this guy's like a real life superhero. Because yeah, like how he opened the door, how he jumped out and everything. I mean, people. I mean, you took it. I never flew or anything, but like people underestimate how fast planes are moving because
Oh my
you have
God.
I guess the sky, you have no point of reference. It's just
Okay.
like,
Good point.
yeah,
Good point.
for a plane to move, it has to go hundreds of miles per hour, even when it lands. Like when you land on a plane, it feels like you're on a rocket, you know? And like that plane was it was a controlled fall, but it was a fall nonetheless. I have no clue how this could have happened. It is really bizarre to me. I do have to say though, this is one of TJ's tangents here I'm famous for.
Let's
But
go.
assuming the story is true, that he actually somehow cracked open the emergency door or a window and jumped out of the plane like fucking Captain America and survived and everything, it would still be the second most likely plane survival story I've ever heard. There was a girl, a 17-year-old girl back in the 70s. Her name was Julianne Kepke. And I think she was flying from Germany to Brazil. Her parents were like Brazilian scientists or something like that. And the plane was struck by lightning. And the plane, yeah. And yeah, and so
Whoa.
yeah.
TJ, this is me tangenting. You know, I got to have details, my man. What kind of plane was it? Was it a passenger plane? Was it a 737? Was it a 787? What kind of plane was it? I got to have some details.
Oh, I don't know. It was a passenger's plane, like, but I don't know what kind it was. But
Okay.
there were hundreds of people on board, and the plane was
Okay.
struck by lightning. And back in so there's technology in place to divert the energy from lightning these days, but this is 50 years ago, and the plane, it wasn't as good, and the plane disintegrated in the air, and she fell out of the sky 2 miles to the ground into the Brazilian rainforest, and she lived. The people aren't quite sure why, but she was still strapped to her row of seats when she fell out of the plane, which would have slowed her fall a little bit. I mean, it's 2 miles. How much could it? And she also fell in foliage, which broke her fall a bit. But she lived with, I think, a broken collarbone and a laceration somewhere in her body, like nothing major. And she was in the rainforest, middle of nowhere. And she had to make it to civilization. So 17 years old. And I think she was in the rainforest something like 8 or 9 days. And she found a river, and she followed the water until she found a group of the native population there. And they transported her to a city where she got in the hospital, and she met her parents. And she talked about the fall. I mean, about her time in the rainforest, but I didn't think about it. She said that the most difficult part was nighttime, which I hadn't even considered. Like, could you
Oh my
imagine?
God.
Could you
Oh my God.
imagine
Oh
being in a
no.
rainforest with no artificial light, dark as fuck, wondering, should I sleep on the ground or is it safer to sleep in a tree? I don't know. Honestly, either way, you could get fucked. And the craziest part of the story is she wasn't the only one to survive. Like, I think something like 14 other people lived, but they died in the rainforest. Like they survived the fall, but didn't make it out like she did. She's the only one that actually survived. Craziest plane story I've ever heard. So yeah, if this is true with the guy in seat 11A, it's still the second craziest one. But yeah, that is
nothing beats that one, TJ.
That's wild shit.
Nothing, because for that young lady, the fall wasn't even the worst part.
Yeah. I mean, and imagine those poor people that lived through that fall just to die in the rainforest.
Right. Wow. Folks, I might have to do a video on it. Y'all know I'm a nerd. So
here, I'll pull up, this is the Wikipedia article on her. Let me see.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this.
All right, so yeah, Julianne Kepke, a German Peruvian mammologist who specializes in bats. She is the daughter of German zoologists, the sole survivor of 1971 Lanza Flight 508 crash. When her plane was struck by lightning, she fell 3,000 meters, 10,000 feet, while strapped to her seat, and suffered numerous injuries, including a concussion, broken collarbone, torn knee ligament. She survived 11 days alone in the rainforest until she located a lumberjack camp. Crazy story, like wild fucking story, right?
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously mosquitoes don't like white meat as much as they like black, because the malaria from the fucking mosquitoes could have killed her ass. But she survived that too. Then she survived the snake. She survived the monkeys, all the reptiles. Because have y'all seen some of the frogs that are poisonous, some of the spiders that are poisonous there? She survived all that. and live to tell this story. Wow.
Yeah, she
Amazing.
survived drinking rainforest water that easily could have killed her, right? I mean, there's so
Right.
many things that could kill you. The rainforest is basically designed to kill you. And as a
Definitely.
17-year-old girl, I mean, insane. Absolutely insane.
Insane. Insane. All right. I only got two more pictures I'm going to show you, then we'll get back to the meat and potatoes of the story. When you see this picture right here, what comes to your mind?
Oh, wow. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is George Floyd, but I don't recognize this picture. Let me see. Yeah, George Floyd is the first thing that comes to mind, but I don't know what this is from.
This is from the protest in LA. And when I see this, the first thing I say to myself was, did you guys lawfully detain? First thing to come to my mind. First thing when I see that. And next, I got this one for you. When you see this, what's the first thing to come to your mind?
Oh, well, Well, I was going to say trans, but it's written right there. That's kind of cheating. So Pride Month is the first thing that comes to mind since it's June.
Yep. Me too. Happy Pride Month to my brothers and sisters out there celebrating. How about this one?
Let's see. Oh, no. Ugh. Sheriff Arpaio is the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know if anyone remembers Sheriff Arpaio, but he was the Arizona sheriff who prided himself on detaining people. And the first thing I think of is the fact that we had the first American in U.S. history detained by the United States military the other day. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
First thing that come to my mind was, sadly, I thought about Sheriff Arpaio getting into it with military, because whoever this sheriff is, he's telling the military something, and the military is telling him back the fuck up. And so that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What happens when you have an altercation between National Guard and local police? Who wins out? Whose orders circumvents who is what I thought. That's what I was thinking.
Wow.
Last one, but not least. When you see this person, what do you think?
Oh, I think champion sports. Like what happened here?
That's the thing. I thought the same. This is Coco Gauff. She whipped the fuck out of that girl that had the nerve to come back and say she beat the chick that was #1 in tennis.
Mhm.
And then the chick started running her mouth like the referee was cheating because she's black or some bull job like that. I think champion, well versed is when I see, because Coco Gauff did like these news tours and she just shrugged it off. She didn't even give the chick credence. She just kept saying she was a tough opponent. She was #1, and as Mike Jones would say, back then, back then you was hot, but now you're not. Is how Coco Gauff handled it. Ladies and gentlemen, rapid fire. Let us know what you think about the pictures of the week. We'll go back to TJ. What's next on your ticket, my brother?
Well, I do have another topic here, but I wanted to bring this up when you mentioned Joe Arpaio. Have you ever seen this clip of Joe Arpaio at the America First Political Action Committee, where he says that he's accused of being the biggest racist in the country? Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Oh, this is great. Okay, here we go. I'm glad.
Now, the speaker just before me, I don't know if he's still around, but he has some good points. I have the reputation of being the biggest racist in the country. Think of that. Well, I hate to, what are you clapping for, that I am or I'm not?
All right, so you hadn't seen that, Lamont. So what are your thoughts? I'll rapid fire you on this after seeing that. What do you think? Well, before you go, I'll say that in the full clip, he says, "Wait, what are you clapping for? That I am or I'm not?" And then he says, "Well, I'm not, and I don't think you guys are either. We just want to do the right thing." That's how it finished off. So
the first thing I'm thinking is that they're clapping because they think he is one of the biggest racists, and they're happy for it. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, like, there's no other way around it. They are happy that you are a big racist, and they want you to own up to it. But sadly, TJ, even in the county I live in, our sheriff was profiling Blacks and Hispanics, and the shit went to the Supreme Court, TJ. They had proof of him doing wrong, and guess what the Supreme Court said?
That he was being racist?
No. They said no, he wasn't.
Damn.
No. TJ, he lost in every appeals court possible. because
Wow.
because not only is he racist, but his daughter is a drug addict, and she was surveilled by the FBI, being with the guy she was getting her drugs from. She was the narc for her daddy,
Wow.
and
I'm actually go ahead.
it still did not put his ass in jail because the Supreme Court said no. Look up
I
Sheriff Terry Johnson when you get bored.
Wow. I honestly I'm kind of surprised to hear that because like even this Supreme Court, which is I think the most conservative court that we've seen like in our lifetime,
Right.
they when it comes to well, I guess this wasn't voting. Like when it comes to like the Voting Rights Act and stuff, like so Alabama, for example, Alabama has their districts drawn up in a way that puts essentially all the black voters in one
Yeah.
district to limit their power. And like this Supreme Court, like this 6-3 conservative Supreme Court said, yeah, this is clearly a violation of the Civil Rights Act. You need to redraw your counties. And they redrew the counties, but it was still
The
like
same
super
thing.
racist. It was,
Yeah.
and so the Supreme Court, once again, like this Supreme Court said, nope, all right, we're gonna have someone do it for you. Like they stepped in and said, so even so, it's kind of crazy that every court said, yes, this is racial discrimination. Supreme Court dropped the ball on that. I mean, it is the Supreme Court. They're the worst one I've seen, but yeah, that is kind of sad.
And
But
to TJ's point, the same thing with the gerrymandering of the voting districts has happened in North Carolina. And the Supreme Court has told North Carolina to get their acts together a couple of times. Like,
that this is something Lamont and I always talk about, how Republicans like to take the victories of Republicans from 150 years ago, or Republicans who stood up for civil rights 60 years ago, and say that we are the continuation of that. It's like, okay, if that's the case, why is it that every Republican I've ever seen does everything they can to decimate the Voting Rights Act? Why
exactly.
is that? Like, why? Why do they hate the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act? Everything Republicans are supposedly happy about, they're trying to get rid of it. I think that's kind of a canard. But no, that clip from Joe Arpaio, one of my favorites. It's just obvious that and so it makes me, I was kind of, what do you think? It's impossible to read people's minds, and it doesn't matter who they are, the insides, their actions that do. He seemed shocked that people thought he was racist. And I tell people this all the time, that unfortunately we have this idea that racism is some sort of personal moral failing, that racism requires animus or malice towards black people, or other minorities and stuff. It's like, no, it doesn't at all. Like, our racism is like systemic. Someone can be racist, a law could be racist and race not be mentioned. A person can be racist and enact racist policies and support racist rules and everything without ever once thinking about it. And I don't know if that's true for Arpaio. I doubt it, but I was kind of shocked that he's like, wow, I can't believe these people think I'm racist. It's kind of funny.
I think that was just putting on because he knows the
Yeah.
camera was on. Because
Maybe.
if this was behind closed doors, it wouldn't even have been a thing. It would have been, yep. I put 60 niggers in jail, and then I followed it up with about 50 Mexicans. It wouldn't even have been a thing. I think for him, it was the fact that it was a national event. And it was recorded, and he expected them to not basically fess up to their racism. Is what he expected. That's what I think.
Yeah, that could easily be the case. I just think back to there's no one is racist today. Racists were always in the past. It's kind of how people think this goes and everything. But even racists, for the most part, don't seem to acknowledge it. And I first thought about this when I was reading about slave owners, in the 1830s, 1840s. If you read the writings of slave owners back then,
They're delusional.
It sounds exactly like conservatives today. They're like, listen, I don't hate black people. I love them. I want what's best for them. I don't have an ounce of malice or toward them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. In fact, I want to take care of them, and it's very important that we civilize them. You will never ever find someone who everyone agrees, okay, this person is obviously racist, saying, yeah, I actually don't like black people. I hate them. I want them to die. You will never find it. So the mythical racist that people create in their mind doesn't exist. Someone like, well, I mean, yeah, you can't find these folks, but they're the exception, not the rule, where people will openly admit, even by the 1800s, it wasn't accepted in polite society to say, actually, I hate this person for this arbitrary characteristic they're under no control over. You had to kind of, philosophize it and soften it in some way and make it look like you're the good guy. And I think a lot of them do convince themselves.
TJ, they do it now.
Yeah,
Like
it's the same thing. Yeah.
the word hate, a lot of people try to act like it's one of the worst words in the world. I don't. So you would get somebody talking about something that in their heart they just have a disdain for it, and you'll catch them saying "I hate," and then they'll say, "Well, I don't want to say hate; it's too strong." And I think that that's the delusional game some of these people play in their mind. In your mind, you think you like black people because you're taking care of them, but
Yep.
in your mind, you take care of your fucking puppy.
Mm-hmm.
You feed your fucking puppy. But are you treating that puppy with the same dignity and rights as a human being? Fuck no, you're not. And that's what you do to minorities. But you love them. But you say you love them, but you don't realize that in your mind you don't, because your behavior does not make them as an equal. And some of them write it off as, no matter how you shape it up, they think that their class puts them higher. But then that gets right back to the very fundamentals of being racist. You're not, because you think your class is superior, whether it's white or whether it's income, that gets back to the fundamentals of racism. And I think that a lot of them feel that way. But then, TJ, you got to admit, you got some that just know it.
Yeah.
They just know it, and they're just not going to admit it in public. And Arpaio was one of them, I think.
I have a lot more respect for people like Nick Fuentes who
Yeah.
just say it. I do. I respect. I mean, I don't agree with them. I think they're vile. I think the world would be a better place without them. But at least they're honest. At least they say, because what bothers me about conservatives is they try to intellectualize this and they try to dance around the point. And it's easy to pin them on this. It's super easy.
Right.
And
Right.
because they will say, well, I'm not saying black people are inferior. That's ridiculous. I would never say someone is just born inferior because of the color of their skin. I am saying that their culture is bad. Like, black culture has created all this crime. It's funny how often they reference like gangster rap, like it's 1984 or something. So have you listened to hip hop lately? It's not like that. It's funny that they reference this. And so it's like, okay, well, why is that the case? According to you, like, our culture is just toxic and it creates bad people and we emulate it, and that's what the problem is. Why is that the case? Well, I mean, black people and white people are in the United States, born in the same country, speak the same language, worship the same God. How is it that, like, one group's culture has devolved according to you? And there's no real good answer for that, other than well, there's socioeconomic issues that lead to this, or there is actually some biological essentialism going on, which is what they actually think. Like, when it really gets down to it, but they can't say it. And it's like, I just fucking say it. Like, say what you mean. That way we can have an honest conversation about this, which is why, like, honestly, people like Nick Fuentes gain in popularity, because it's a more cohesive thought. That what they're saying actually fits into a framework, and why conservatism has moved that way more and more. Like, they're more openly fascist and racist and Nazi now than they ever been in my lifetime. So yeah, just be honest, folks.
And then on top of that, and then we'll get TJ to some more stuff. I'm from the country. And one thing that a lot of us black dudes always say in the country is we love a real country redneck. Why? Because he's going to tell you point blank what is on his mind. He's going to tell you if he don't like you because you're black. He's just going to be straight up about what is on his mind. And we prefer it to be that way than for us to come to the fucking county fair and then y'all look like the Backstreet Boys only to catch us in the bathroom slipping. So let us know what y'all think, fellas, and everybody and ladies. Leave us your comments. You can always leave us comments here. You can leave us messages. We want to hear from you. What else you got, TJ? What else you got?
Oh, well, I apologize. This is going to be a long one. This one is, I've been thinking about this one all day long. And this is a tweet that Trump sent out a couple days ago saying, "We remain committed to a diplomatic resolution to the Iran nuclear issue. My entire administration has been directed to negotiate with Iran. They could be a great country, but they first must completely give up hopes of attaining a nuclear weapon. Thank you for attention to this matter." And I don't know if you guys have been watching the news lately, but Iran and Israel are involved in the beginnings of what could escalate into a full-blown war, and that Trump's negotiations don't seem to matter. And this has been like, once again, frustrating is the wrong word. I wish I could find something stronger, because it's obvious that's what happened. When Trump was in office the first time, I was talking to a friend of mine from college who was a conservative Republican, voted for Trump, and I asked him, okay, I think he asked me, like, what was my biggest complaint with Trump? And I said, well, where do I start? But I think the obvious one at the time was the Iran nuclear deal. And we had, the United States, along with other nations, had a nuclear deal with Iran. Iran was trying to enrich uranium to create nuclear energy. And people are afraid of the Iranians having nuclear power because they would have nuclear bombs like us. We don't want that. We can't, because Iran, they are bad people. They're not allowed to have nuclear energy. We are good people. We are allowed to have it. That's literally what it comes down to. And it's especially funny coming from us, the only country in human history that has used nuclear weapons offensively, and we're saying, how do we know we can trust you with these weapons? How do we know?
Not once. Not once. Not once. But multiple times, TJ. Keep it 100.
Yeah, multiple times over a couple of weeks, right? We incinerated 2 whole cities. By the way, that's another cool story. Like, a guy survived the Hiroshima attack.
I know that one.
Yeah.
I know that one.
And he went to Nagasaki and he survived that attack too. Like, insane, like a crazy. So he just died not too long ago.
I was going to say, they was running tests on him for a long time. He was getting paid to allow people to run tests on him across government. I remember that story. Like, big time.
I was not the craziest part. The craziest part is that he lived through 2 nuclear bomb explosions, but he didn't even die from the radiation, which I would have guessed, oh, that guy was probably dead within 5 years. No, he lived to be 90-something years old. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so under the Obama administration, the United States had worked out a deal with the Iranians saying, okay, you can enrich uranium. You're going to allow inspectors to come and check on this and make sure you're not developing a weapon. Basically, they would cooperate with the IAEA or something, the International Nuclear Organization. And okay, like that would prevent Iran, if we're going to buy into this framework that we get to decide who has nuclear weapons and who doesn't. That's the best way to do it, right? Like, Iran's going to agree to this. You can't hide nuclear energy. You can see it from space. They can't just create a nuclear bomb without, you being able to check in on it. And then Trump comes along and says, wow, Obama made this deal with the Iranians. He gave them all this money. He would say that there was stacks of cash going into planes. And what he was referencing, there was no cash going into planes, is that the United States retaliated against Iran in 1979 when you had the Islamic Revolution, and they froze all Iranian assets in the United States, saying, you're not going to get this back unless you play ball with us. Then in 2012 or whatever, they played ball with us, and Obama said, okay, well, here's your money back. And Trump made this whole thing that American taxpayers are paying the Iranians, which didn't happen. He goes in, rips up the nuclear plan. And I asked him, okay, what is Trump's goal here? What plan does he want that's going to be better? And he says, well, I heard it was a bad deal. So I don't know. Tell me what deal is Trump trying to make? He didn't make one. He never did. Like, there was just nothing there. And also, why would the Iranians have any incentive to work with us in the future if we can just evaporate deals like that? And of course, the Iranians are going to go their own way. Israel has decided we're going to launch an attack on Iran, and they do. And it's like, Trump, the only thing, it's just an ego thing. The only reason he did this is because it was a big win for Obama, and he wanted a win for himself, even if it causes another war and countless deaths. And I don't know what to say to people. Like, what is this art of the deal guy? Like, what are we getting out of this? What are the Iranians getting out of this? What are the Israelis getting out of this? There's just no winners here, and it can all be traced back to Trump's ego because he wanted to have a one-up on Obama.
This is not the only situation Trump has done this, ladies. He also did this with the plans Obama had with COVID. Hey, Flurkin, what's going on, cat?
Flurkin's back.
TJ, you remember he done this with all the plans Obama had in place to prevent outbreaks such as COVID, such as other diseases. Trump tore that shit up too. This is just anything that Trump did, that Obama did that was working, not only working, but TJ, a lot of this stuff Obama negotiated with Republicans, because people forget Obama did not have the House and Senate his entire time in office. And a lot of this stuff he negotiated with Republicans. And Trump comes in here, sets everybody's house on fire after you already had a plan in place to protect the house, sets the house on fire, rips up the plan in place. Then eventually, after the house gets really, really messed up beyond repair, he puts the fire out and then wants you to praise him because he came up with putting the fire out. Same thing with this right here. Same exact thing with this right here. And he's caught between a rock and a hard place because Iran has enough, how can I say this? They have enough resources that they can get a nuke if they want to. I mean, if they really wanted to make us think about it and go to war, I think that they've got enough cohesion and enough people that would support them that they could do it if they want to. We can't look to Trump to be TJ the peacemaker because he's just not going to do it unless you are stroking his ego.
Yeah, there's nothing in it for him whatsoever. It he wants a way to get his name on something. That's it. There's no rhyme or reason to this. There's no 4D chess. There's no unifying principle. It's all about what makes Trump look good to the detriment of literally everyone. Now, especially when you're dealing with, Israel, who's wanted to attack Iran for a long time. Like go ahead.
They've been chomping at the bits to. I don't know how people like. Do you ever have to debate people that want to argue with you about the efficacy of Benjamin Netanyahu? Have you ever had to be in one of these debates?
Not recently. I mean, it's been a while, but because I don't know if you listen to Netanyahu, and honestly, if you listen to the Israeli government as a whole, it is like psychopathic. It's like it is jarring listening to the rhetoric that they say and like their actual stated goals. I mean, attacking Tehran, the capital of Iran, the other day, just dropping missiles on them and saying this is a preemptive attack. It's like, no, this is insane. This is not something like major countries do anymore. This isn't the 1500s where you just like launch your army against another one. And they do it. They did it to Gaza, which is part of their country. They did it to the Golan, Lebanon. They're doing it to Iran.
It's just Lebanon. Yeah.
It's out of control. I have to believe that this is hurting Israel's reputation in the United States. It's been falling over recent years, but it's not doing it any favors.
But TJ, let's just keep this 100.
Yeah,
and because I was just about to make the announcement, I know some of y'all are not into foreign politics because it doesn't affect you immediately. It does affect us, ladies and gentlemen, just maybe not as immediately as you want it to. But there are not a lot of people who are, first of all, paying attention to foreign policy unless it is war. And then secondly, they don't understand the ins and outs of why these things happen. Like, okay, what happened this year? What happened that year? And what is our president and leadership doing that is a cause and effect into these foreign policies? A lot of people fall asleep on this, TJ. And so it becomes a quagmire for some people to even debate about it because they want to immediately run to something that they feel like they have greater knowledge in, which is usually not foreign policy.
Well, what's really distressing about it is the people who do have a strong opinion on it, but don't know anything about the topic. Don't know anything at all. Because I have to tip my cap to the United States government on at least thinking back to the last 100 years of amazing propaganda. I mean, honestly, holy shit. Great work, fellas. You guys convinced millions of Americans that universal health care is gay or something. That you can't do that. That's not cool. You can't have that communism or socialism is bad because under a socialist economy, the United States government would have full control over your lives. And why would the U.S. government want anything like that? That doesn't sound like the U.S. government to me. Clearly, we don't want.
But that socialism is okay for corporations.
Yeah,
you gotta keep that in there.
Yeah, Like Elon Musk gets billions of dollars because he's a good person, so he gets all that money. A single mom, shouldn't get that money because she's a bad person. If she was a good person, she'd already be rich, and we'd give her more money. But
or if she was a good person, she wouldn't be a single mother.
She wouldn't be a single mom in the first place. Yes, poor decision making. But nowhere is this more evident to me than our view of which nations are a direct threat and danger to us. Like the most obvious example is Iraq. Iraq had no chance of ever damaging the U.S. whatsoever.
Nothing.
But places like North Korea, like people are terrified of this tiny nation, like in the middle of nowhere that hasn't fought a war in 70 years, that has Soviet era technology. It does have nuclear weapons, and people are like, okay, they're going to drop a nuke on us any day. Why? Like, why would they do that? It'd be the worst thing they could possibly do.
Ridiculous.
It's never going to happen. Iran, though. Whenever you talk to people about Iran, I reference 1979, and they say, well, that's when U.S. relations with Iran started to sour. Back when the Muslims took over the government, and they've been a theocratic state ever since. And I'm not denying that. Like, I'm not saying that Iran is.
I was going to say that's true. That part is true.
That's true.
Honestly,
yeah.
That part is true.
No contention there. And then they had the hostage crisis, and they said, okay, so Iran has been a bad actor since 1979, and that's why we're invested in making them our enemy. It's like, that's not where it started. That is not where it started at all. So, quick history lesson for those of you out there.
Please.
But Iran was a British puppet state in the early 1900s. And in 1909, a British oil company, you guys would know them, BP, or British Petroleum.
British Petroleum,
A British oil company or energy company discovered oil in Iran. And they started drilling and started, selling it. And during World War I, the British government nationalized this program, and basically meaning, hey, this Iranian oil, it belongs to the government of Great Britain. It belongs to the British people. And in 1953, I think, the Iranians elected a man named Mohammad Mossadegh as their prime minister, who had the crazy idea, are you ready for this, Lamont? A wild idea, that the oil in Iran actually belong to the Iranian people. That they should, he's like, I don't think it's cool that this foreign government is draining all the money from Iran. And in fact, I'm nationalizing our oil program. All the money from Iranian exports and energy and oil is going to be put back into the government and the Iranian people. Now, this is 1953. It's right after World War II. And the British government wasn't as powerful as it was before. They had lost a lot of money and power and wealth and soldiers during World War II. So they couldn't really do anything about this. They couldn't stop Mossadegh from doing that. So they went running to their little brother in the United States and said, hey, listen, this guy, Mohammad Mossadegh, he has kicked us out. He's taken over this oil system, and he's nationalizing the profits from the oil. That sounds a lot like communism to me, doesn't it? And the United States says, whoa, okay, we can't have that. That's not going to happen. So the United States, I'm not, this isn't conspiracy, folks. This is open. It's out there. You can find it. You can check it right now. The United States government fostered a revolution to overthrow Mossadegh, which they did. They input the Shah. You guys may have heard the Shah of Iran, the Shah of Iran, to run the place as essentially a puppet dictator for the West. And he was until 1979. And he was overthrown. That's what happened. We've been involved with Iran and fucking them over for a long time. This doesn't excuse anything that the current Iranian government does. But the fact that they have you thinking Iran, which, by the way, to my knowledge, started 0 wars in the last 50 years or so. I can't think of one. I can't think of a war that was started by the Iranians. If you look at them,
I can tell you the perception of a war that was started by them. And it's not just Iran, but it's also the whole perception of the Middle East during the George W. Bush era, when we went out looking for weapons of mass destruction. You go and you ask the average MAGA person about George W. Bush looking for those weapons of mass destruction. Hell, TJ, you can go back to his George W. Bush's father when they was going after Saddam Hussein. There are a lot of people who grew up in that era that think anything Middle East is bad.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter.
No.
Hamas, If you sound like you would jump out of an airplane and go woo, 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 woo,
Yeah.
for them, it's all bad, and they don't care what the
No.
history is, because that goes to show you the same way they treat history in America. If you don't know the history, you can't have empathy or sympathy for what the plight is of why this thing is going on, which is why they want to get rid of African American history, which is why they tend to try to get rid of Native American history. And if you don't know foreign history, you succumb to stupid shit and propaganda, which is what TJ just gave y'all a complete history lesson in.
And it
And
leads. Go.
we did this last week, TJ. Me and you sat here last week and we talked about the origins of the stuff going on with the Arabs, Israel. We talked about that. And we talked about how, in Palestine, and how eventually they sent Jews over to the Arab lands with the help of the Zionists. And a lot of people can't even tell you that. They don't
No.
even know that history. They don't know nothing about it.
No, and it makes it really easy to have these incredibly bigoted beliefs about
Mm-hmm.
folks that
Right.
it makes it really easy to
Right.
put them into boxes like Trump's Muslim ban or something. And by the way,
Exactly.
this is coming from two people who have no love lost towards religion at all, Christianity, Islam, or whatever. Like, it's all nonsense to us. Like, I got that. But you're going to say that, oh, I don't like Muslims. I don't think they should be in the country. I don't trust them. It's like, well, what the fuck do you know about Islam? Do you know anything? Like, do you know
Nothing.
anything about this faith? Like, that's almost 1 billion people you're talking about. Probably, maybe over 1 billion people you're talking about. And like, do you know the difference between a Sufi Muslim and a Wahhabi Muslim, or a
Absolutely
Sunni
not.
or a Shia Muslim? You have no clue.
A-
You have no idea what it means.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
So just blanket saying, oh, these are just bad people because of this religion I know nothing about. Easy to do, and a lot of Americans do it. Like, most Americans couldn't even tell you that Iranians aren't even Arabs, that they're Persian. They have no idea. They don't know anything
Exactly.
about this shit. Yeah.
Folks, leave your comments. Well, I can tell you one thing: when me and TJ get together, you're gonna learn some damn history. You are going to get history whether we put it on the list or not, because
Yeah.
everything connects to history.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, TJ? Does
No.
not everything connect to history?
And
Everything.
and the thing is, like, I get it. I don't expect your average person to know that
Get it.
story. I don't.
I get
I
it.
don't. I
Get
would
it.
never shit on someone. You never heard of Muhammad Mossadegh? What a moron. I would never say that.
Right,
But
right.
if you're going to have a strong opinion on this
That's where
subject,
that's where
it's
it counts.
yeah, it's kind of on you to know what the fuck you're talking about. Especially
Right.
when you're like, yeah, I fully support the Israelis bombing Tehran for reasons, because
Exactly.
Israelis good, Muslims bad, which is as far as most people think. It's obnoxious.
People, for me, I'm just like TJ. If you're gonna have implicit thoughts that inform your behavior, whether it's voting, how you treat people who you deem as Muslim, how you treat people who you deem are from the Middle East, I need you to know this shit so that you're not being propagandized. You have to you don't have to go and pass a history lesson, but get to know the history, a little bit of it, before you just go and casting actions against something you don't know anything about. And we'll leave it at that. It's
God.
nuts. Post your comments, y'all, right here. If you feel like me and TJ wrong, we would love to hear what you got to say. I mean, we chopping at the bits to have a discussion with somebody. There's the link, bit.ly/talk to us, capital T in talk, capital T in two. I got a story for you, TJ, that's a little sad. We lost a congressperson in Minnesota. Um, as we
Yeah.
talked about in the beginning of this video, the violence has been upticked, and dare I say, projected by the Republican Party. And I can say this without worry of trouble. You have a man who incited a violent mob on January 6th. Never paid for it yet, but he will. And you have plenty of other people that incited this kind of behavior before Trump. Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity. Does anybody remember Pizzagate? When a guy from my own state drove his ass from North Carolina to Washington, D.C., shot somebody thinking he was going to liberate children, in the basement of a pizza shop. The word on the street was he peed and pooped his pants because he was trying to get there so fast because the Republicans do not come out and denounce it. And we've had this shit happen in Minnesota. Take a look at this.
Today, because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents. My prayers also go out to State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette, who were each shot multiple times. The Hoffmans are out of surgery at this time and receiving care, and we are cautious.
TJ, I'm gonna toss it to you, my man, but this is the caveat I want to give to you and others who do what we do. If we're seeing politicians getting attacked, at what point in time do us in this social media space need to heighten our alert, need to be worried about where we're at, or start considering that these same attacks that are happening to the politicians might bleed off into some of us who are just trying to tell the people about the real truth of what's going on?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know to like what extent that's gonna, bleed out. I'm not worried. Maybe I should be. I don't know, but I'm not. I just like that. But I said earlier in the show that I think we're going to see a lot more of this. I really do.
I do too.
I have no reason to believe we will see less. I just
No.
don't. And it really. So from what I saw with this guy, it's a crazy story. For those of you wondering, like he was the suspect, at least it's not confirmed.
Right.
The suspect went to the house of two Minnesota state representatives dressed in what looked like to be police gear.
Exactly.
He had a license plate that said police on it. He had flashing lights on his car. I mean, and one of the officers saying, because they ran across this guy like on dumb fucking luck. Did you see that?
I saw that.
Yeah, they went to check on the house of one of the representatives because they live close by, and his car was there, and they saw the suspect. They exchanged fire with the cops, and he got away. He ran off into the woods or something like that. And the cop said, yeah, anyone who saw him would assume this guy was a cop, just based on how he looked and how he dressed and everything. And this is, I didn't mention this last episode. I had it written down, but I didn't talk about it. But I don't think I saw, at least, that I'm actually surprised none of these ICE agents have gotten shot, honestly, because a lot of them aren't even in uniform. A lot of them are.
Good point.
Yeah,
good point.
They're an unmarked. If someone came up to me in an unmarked vehicle with no badge, no uniform, whatever, I would just assume that a crime was taking place. And if I was armed, I'd defend myself, right? That's how I think. And the fact that it hasn't happened yet is kind of shocking. But now they've stepped it up. It's like, okay, well, if you dress like a cop, yeah, I would say, okay, well, it's a cop, but this is I don't see a reason to think this is going to dial down. And it's so upsetting to me because Trump won, like we mentioned before. Trump didn't win necessarily on policy. It's like, they couldn't tell you a lot of policies and shit. Trump ran on vibes and memes. Like, a lot of these guys think it's hilarious that Trump is in office. They think it's so funny. They think that, Trump is memeing on these clowns and what would he say this stuff? It's like, folks, this isn't a fucking game. It's not.
None.
And this guy, from what we can tell, once again, like I get the suspect has a lot of anti-abortion rhetoric, and the list of people he had in his vehicle all correlated with Democratic politicians who had strong pro-abortion stances. And I remember when I was a kid, I was in Tabernacle Baptist Church in Lebanon, Missouri, and our pastor, Hal Hightower, he would tell this story, and he would talk about there was an abortion bombing that took place a few years back. It was like several years before he talked about this. And he said that, yeah, I'm not condoning any, violence or anything like that. But I do have to say the score is them 50 million us won. I will never forget that, where he said that, the Democrats or the liberals have killed 50 million babies and we've killed one abortion doctor. What does that tell you? And I got to be honest, folks, if people genuinely believe that, if they genuinely believe there is a genocide of human beings, that these fetuses, that these embryos are people just like us, yeah, I'm shocked we don't have it more. Like if you actually believe, like if, for example, if there was 10-year-olds, if there were millions of 10-year-olds dying, like people, you could take your 10-year-old to the doctor and execute them, people are going to rise up because like, oh, that's fucked up. But most people don't actually believe that an embryo is a person. They say it, but they don't actually believe it. But if people act on this belief, I don't see why we wouldn't see more of this. Like to them, that's an easy trade. Because like I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw that him taking out Democratic representatives would give the Republicans a majority in the House or whatever. It's a slim majority, something like that. So yeah, with as many firearms as we have, and with how divisive and cruel and sociopathic a lot of our political opposition is, I do expect more. Sadly, I hate to say it, but I do.
It's always been a stretch for me for individuals like this guy, the perpetrator, to do this in the name of religion or in some kind of pursuit of a religious gain, protecting children. Okay, but you associate yourself with a party that once the child gets here, you could give a fuck less what happens to the child. Make it make sense. But you somehow or another are going after people who are doing abortions, and if your religion is telling you that abortions are wrong, what else is your religion not telling you that should be wrong? Is what bothers me. And I live in a county and a state, TJ, where we have these wannabe police officers, these wannabe volunteer firemen, these wannabe military fuckers who couldn't make Gomer Pyle's deputy sheriff, that run around and put strobe lights on their cars. They get these fake ass badges. They want to pretend like they're someone of authority. So I can easily see someone being conned into believing that one of these fuckers is the police coming after them. And honestly, TJ, there's not a lot I can tell people to do to, defend themselves other than, you get pulled over, make sure you've got some kind of mace. I don't want to say a gun, but make sure you understand your rights if a policeman pulls you over. Or if you have a situation where a cop is coming to your home, you don't have to open the door. You can ask them, why are you here? What's caused you to be here? And just double check, because this is ridiculous. And if it can happen to a politician, it can happen to you too.
Yeah, the Minnesota, I don't remember who mentioned this, but if it was the city or the state in Minnesota, they said that, hey, don't answer the door for any police. They put out that order today. And also, if police come to your home, you don't open the door immediately. You can confirm with the police department. Call them and say, hey, someone's at my door. Did you guys send someone? And now it does get tricky with what you mentioned with traffic stops, because the advice that even cops will tell you is, oh yeah, pull over somewhere safe. Don't just pull over anywhere. Slow down, let the cop know you've acknowledged them. And if you want to go to a public area, that's, but if someone's this guy shot these folks in broad daylight, I don't think that would have saved them. Being in a public place, yeah, he'd have shot you anyway. So I know it's just, it's really tricky. Yeah.
The biggest thing that I would tell anyone, if you can, even if there's the fear that you might get shot, if you can get to the most populated public place as possible, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And tell the officer, once it's all said and done, you've done it because of what's been going on in the day. You can also ask that officer to speak to his supervisor to tell them why you did what you did. Mm-hmm. That's something that they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Cops. Oh, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on this and everything. I do think it's crazy that cops, for speeding tickets and everything, carry firearms. That's very strange. You don't need that. It's not a necessary part of the gig. If I'm going to write you a citation for your taillight being out, I don't know why I need a firearm. I don't. We have this expectation that these cops are, going to fight crimes. Okay, we have crime fighting cops. Like in Britain, they don't have guns at all. The cop, which is weird for us to think about. That would actually never work here because there's too many guns. I got that. But there's certain cops, like if a cop shows up for a noise complaint, don't need a gun. I'm sorry, it's just not a necessary part of the job. Because if you've ever called a cop about a noise complaint saying, hey, it's 1 a.m. and my neighbor is playing loud music, can you send the cop over there, tell him to turn the noise down? The cop will say, have you talked to your neighbor yet? Like,
Right.
why are you sending me out there if you haven't talked to the guy? And so when people say that cops need a gun because you never know what's going to happen, well, they're perfectly fine with sending you without a gun to talk to that neighbor, right? They're assuming you bring a firearm to that interaction, it could go south real quick. So yeah, the gun's not necessary. You've proven that by telling other people to go. So yeah, it's just like, this is really dark. And then of course, I don't know if you've seen, but we're pointing out all the obvious shit here. They found this guy. We have his name, the suspect, his social media, all of his organizations, ever as right wing as the day is long. And they first said that, well, he probably shot these folks because they voted against a measure that would give health care to illegal aliens. Like he's doing it. And of course, like when it came out, like that was a right wing meme, but they didn't vote against it like at all. So that's clearly not the case. And then they said, aha, well, in 2019, Tim Walz himself appointed this guy as part of his like government or governor's workforce development task force or something. Like I don't even know what it was, but it was like some like business development plan where you worked with people to grow small. It was like, look at that guy was a Tim Walz fan. This is and where they're going with this, I can already tell you. You probably already know. This is some deep state trick to make conservatives look bad. Like 6 years ago, Tim Walz conspired with this guy and said, okay, in 2025, I'm gonna need you to light up a bunch of Democrats to make Republicans look bad and Democrats look good, because once again, conspiratorial thinking. It's I don't know if it's going to work in the general population, probably not, but it is indicative of just how bad things have gotten, that this is all a joke. It's a funny television show to some people. It's like, no, people's lives are on the line.
Let us know what y'all think, ladies and gentlemen. My biggest thing is you all be safe. You all understand some of the rules and regulations of law and your interactions with law enforcement. Let us know what you think. There's the link for the channel. There's a link for the podcast, and there's the link to leave us a message. bit.ly/talk to us. TJ, I've only got one more thing for you, and it's real quick, and I'll let you get out of here. You already know how I feel about regular protests.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today is a big day because it's Donald Trump's birthday. There have been online campaigns to embarrass Trump by putting up Obama's picture on your social media. And we've also had several organized protests across the nation. Here in my state, we've got like a bunch of them in North Carolina. And here's a good look at one in Durham, North Carolina. Take a look at this. That is good old Durham, North Carolina, TJ. It's not even the biggest city in our state, nowhere near. It's like I think it's like number 8. Mm-hmm. And look at this, is over like 3,000 some odd people lined in the square. You didn't hear a fucking sheriff come out and say, if you block the street, I'm gonna shoot you.
Yeah.
You didn't hear a donut chasing sheriff say, if you run from me, I'm a sick of dog, and you didn't hear none of that. My thing, TJ, and I've always said this, some people get on me about it. If people don't see some kind of violence in a protest, it doesn't make them feel like action needs to be taken. And when I say that, I'm talking about the people who are in control of power. That's what I'm speaking of. Not the lay person, not the regular person. When Martin Luther King did his protest, Republicans and white people love to tell you it was peaceful. Martin Luther King incited violence. He had those white people who were on edge, like these cops we just got finished talking about, or these guys who want to be police officers, on the edge wanting to hit niggas so bad that they would just protest in their face till they start beating them, hose them down with water. So I pass the baton to you, and I say this, TJ. Do you think that any of these protests is going to change anybody who's in power right now's mind to start behaving better?
Oh boy, yeah, that is hard to say. My gut feeling is no. That's my gut feeling on this. And it's hard to share these thoughts, because it's not that we want to, well, I don't speak for Lamont, but it's not that I want to discourage people from protesting. That's not
Me
the
neither.
point.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm not saying that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I would rather you do something than nothing. That something be on the positive end.
yeah, it's just that the efficacy of this is pretty limited when you consider the actual position of power. It's actually this very concept is why I chose the name "power is taken, not given." And
Mm.
I first heard it. Was it in Gloria Allred? I think is who I first heard say it, and she mentioned, yeah, power isn't given to you. Yeah, power is only real if you take it. Because if someone gives you power, that person also has the ability to take that power away. If you take the power, it's fucking yours, right? And that's how this shit works. Like we like to imagine that history is changed by convincing arguments, by reason and logic or empathy. No, it's not. I wish that were the case, but it's not. Uh, Rush Limbaugh wrote a book years ago,
Oh
and
Lord.
I know Rush Limbaugh wrote a book. It was like, I can't remember what the title was, but it was like something like 12 rules for reality or something like that. And one of the rules he wrote was that our world is one governed by the aggressive use of force. He's fucking right. He's
Yep.
fucking right. Like that is,
Yep.
we pretend that we are these noble creatures with the rights don't exist. I hate to break it to you guys. Rights don't. This is funny that Republicans always reference this about natural law and natural rights made up. Okay, the only rights we have and the only justice that exists are those that we create for ourselves. That's it.
Right.
Like we there is no like a divine guarantee that you will have freedom of movement or justice or anything like that. And also, you mentioned this earlier with I'm getting to the violence thing, is that you said something about people who call for peace and everything like that. And you'll see this with people talking about Ukraine or they talk about civil rights and stuff. They're like, oh, well, can't we have peace? People don't actually want peace. That's bullshit. People want justice, right? You can have like Martin Luther King mentioned that what did he say? That people want a negative peace, which is the absence of conflict instead.
Absence of conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of a positive justice. Like, look, we could have peace all day long. Like a dictatorial monarchy, a lot of peace going on, not a lot of justice.
Right.
Yeah, not a lot of justice.
Right.
Yeah, so they, what I'm getting at is I'm not certainly absolutely not with the stuff going on today. I'm not condoning that people go out and start murking their political opponents. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Neither.
What I am saying is unless you have leverage over your political opponents, you're not going anywhere. This is Lamont. This is something that I've noticed. I don't know if I mentioned on the show before, but have you ever noticed that, like with Martin Luther King, for example, when it comes to the rights that are gained by minority groups, the people that they hold up are always supposedly like this docile version of civil rights.
Right.
Yeah, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi.
No mention of Malcolm X. I want to take the power.
Yes, yeah. Martin Luther King politely asked for racism to end, but Malcolm X was really mean. We can't do that. Like Susan B. Anthony, they always talk about, and they always say that, well, there was a really, kind and polite way to progress these rights. You don't see this quite as much for any rights that were gained by like white Christian men. Like, can you think of like, what is the white Christian male version of Martin Luther King? There isn't one. Like you have George Washington, you have Julius. Well, Julius wasn't Christian, but you have generals, you have people who actually fight. Like
some would try to tell you Abraham Lincoln, but Abraham Lincoln, if you get to the history of who he is, thank you.
Yeah,
he's not who you think he is.
Yeah, that would be a terrible example. Yeah, like the largest war, the war that killed more Americans than anybody. It's
anything else.
Yeah, and when they say violence isn't the answer, once again, not promoting like physical violence to other people.
We're not.
Yeah, but it's like usually it is. It's how did we stop the Nazis? Violence. How do we end slavery? Violence. Like honestly, Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act happened. Yeah, they were terrified of the riots.
I just told you how we got that. I just told violence. It was violent.
Exactly. And so
The Boston Tea Party, violent.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I didn't want to take you back that far, but I mean, you're on the road now, so why not?
Yeah, the creation of the United States of America came about through violence. We didn't petition King George to let us go. That's not how the shit works, right? So, like folks,
nor did we petition the natives that was here when they asses got here.
Yeah, exactly. The land. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so yeah, the protests are great. I think it's awesome, but people won't change unless they fear losing something, unless there's some sort of leverage. And Republicans got that. I will grant them that. Republicans understand the moment a lot better than a lot of Democrats do. Democrats are still operating under an old paradigm that no longer exists. Republicans are. It's kind of like how the Tea Party wasn't a majority, but they acted like they were. Republicans are not bound by reason, logic, philosophy, policy. Power is the only thing that matters, and they're right. They are. That's it. I'm sorry.
And as I always tell people, as me and TJ get out of here, and please go check this man out. If you think he's good here, you should wait until he doesn't have to deal with sharing the microphone with my ass.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it.
But people, I've always said that, yes, I don't want you to be, I'm not calling for anyone to be violent, but we just gave you what history has shown to shift the narrative. We just told you that. And I've always said that if we want racism in this country to go away, when somebody is red-handed caught being racist, their asses have to be punished to the extent of the law, no questions asked, so that consequences can be seen and it can start to make people think twice about those stupid ass behaviors. The only way we're going to get it back, we're not going to get it back by having debates. We're not going to get it to go away by particularly policies or anything. If there's no consequence, why change the behavior? It goes right back to what TJ said. Power is taken, not given. And that's how you find him on TikTok. TJ, what are they looking forward to on your channel the next couple of days as we get out of here?
Yeah. So I think last week I mentioned it. I didn't know we were going to do it the next week, but I haven't done that video. I was going to talk about Antarctica yet. I'll probably do that one today. So about the discovery in Antarctica and how you can find old maps that look like Antarctica's on it, but it's going to be a pretty fascinating topic. So look forward to that.
That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe. You will see a new playlist on my channel that says Lamont and TJ, Politics of Being Black in America. Leave us a message so we can read it out. Link is bit.ly/talk to us. TJ will be back in 2 weeks. Ladies, don't start throwing your panty drawers at me because you missed this guy, okay? Save him. Save him. He'll be back in 2 weeks. And until that next Texas Hell video, y'all, we out.
Later, guys.
Oh, man.